Well, turning our attention to Kenya ahead of the August 2023 elections, as much as the people are looking for a man who can turn things around, the calculations of regions and places are just as significant. Now, candidate of the Azimio la Umoja Coalition, Raila Odinga, on Monday announced Martha Karua as his running mate. Now, the choice of a woman as Odinga's running mate is seen as a strategic move towards attracting female electorates. Kenya has never had a female president or deputy president, and Karua may be the first. Other than an attraction to the females in Kenya, it is a move to attract the country's most powerful people. William Ruto, Kenya's current deputy president, candidate of the Kenya Kwanza coalition, also has Rigathi Gachagua as his running mate. Now, Rigathi is also from the Kikuyu and is also from the Mathira constituency, which has produced 3 of Kenya's last 4 presidents. Now, Odinga from the Luo tribe gives a totally different option in terms of tribal decongestion from the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin. It is the first time there will be no Kikuyu man vying to become president. Just as we highlighted earlier on in Nigeria, Nigeria is also trying to look at what Kenya is doing. Allan Odero, a political analyst from Nairobi, Kenya, and Ambrose Cheruiyot is an economist, statistician, and Bomet County, Kenya. Gentlemen, welcome to the square. Good to see you both. And Kenya is in the news and is really not going to go out till after that election. Gentlemen, let's start by asking, the choice of Martha Karua as Odinga's running mate is seen as a very strategic one. Now, let's start by asking you, Allan, what do you make of this move by the Odinga team?
Okay, thanks a lot for having me. First of all, great to be part of this show this evening. So Martha Karua's nomination as Deputy President is a game changer in our political scene. Granted that this is the first time, just as you've stated, that a woman occupies such a pivotal position in a coalition of with a major sway in the country, and with realistic chances of the country having the first woman deputy president. Then secondly, looking at the regional dynamics, given that politics is generally local, we say that politics is all local. Martha Karua comes from the territory whereby the outgoing president comes from, and it should be seen as a reaction now that the Kenya Kwanza coalition headed by Dr. William Ruto, the day before nominated Rigathi Gachagua, who comes equally from the same ethnic group and the same territory as Uhuru Kenyatta, and now, so Azimio, by choosing Martha Karua, is kind of a reaction and an attempt at countering the gains that William Ruto has made in that territory, given that Mount Kenya region, or the central Kenya region, as we call it in this country, the Mount Kenya region, is a vote-rich block. Looking at the permutations and looking at the figures, we have approximately 22 million registered voters going to cast their votes their ballots in August. And looking at the votes from the region, we call it the Mount Kenya region, central Kenya is made up of the Kikuyu ethnic group, and their cousins, the Aembu, the Ameru, and so forth. They comprise close between 5.8 to 6 million registered voters. That translates to around 27% of the total number of registered voters. So anyone who can win a majority of the votes in that territory has a head start in the race. So granted that William Ruto was riding on the incumbency and the goodwill of the region, having been Uhuru's deputy for the past 5 years until their fallout in the second term. So already a homeboy in a way that he has the goodwill of the people, and then his advantage that he's been running all alone all that long. So granted that that's a vote-rich bloc with a significant sway in the outcome of the presidential race, the Azimio felt it politically strategic to have someone who can excite the vote. And secondly, Martha is thought to be in a position to excite the women vote, given that every number counts. The threshold is to win 50% plus 1 to avoid the possibility of going for a runoff. So every number counts, 1 vote, 5 votes, 10 votes, or whatever it is. So it's hoped by the Azimio people that Martha will kind of recover lost ground, attract more the undecided voters, looking at what happened yesterday, there was quite excitement across the national landscape. Looking at that, this is the first time that a major coalition has granted a woman.
Let me bring in Allan. I'll come to you. Sorry to cut you there, Allan.
Yeah,
I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Ambrose.
Okay.
Ambrose,
Okay,
listening.
sure.
Yeah, listening to Allan, because Africans were, watching, last night, watching Raila Odinga announce the, candidacy of Martha Karua, and the ovation was so loud across Kenya and many parts of the continent. Now, William Ruto also chose his running mate from a very powerful constituency. Now, how are these calculations going to ultimately decide who the winner will be?
Thank you, Suleiman, for hosting me on the show. I would say the choice of Martha Karua by the Honorable Raila Odinga to be the running mate was a strategic one. But considering that William Ruto had already chosen Rigathi Gachagua, who is a very good mobilizer, I think anybody who gets around 70% of Mount Kenya votes would be declared the winner. But there is also the possibility of a runoff because Kalonzo Musyoka has bolted out of Azimio la Umoja movement. And that is depriving Raila Odinga of Kamba votes. So for me, I would say anybody who gets about 70% of Mount Kenya votes will have a good chance of winning the election.
Let me stay with you a bit, Ambrose, before we go back to Allan. And President Kenyatta is backing Raila Odinga, and at 77, many see him as a man who probably just wants to serve or achieve his lifelong ambition. Do you feel or think Odinga is the man to take Kenya forward?
For me, I would say yes, but also I think he has tried many times. But now, the largest voting bloc for now is the youth. Talking about him selling himself as a freedom fighter would not go well with the youths, and like the Aslam movement by William Samoei Ruto, who is trying to build the economy from the bottom, and that's a very good selling point. But Raila Odinga also has votes and supporters across the country. He's a national figure, having served as a prime minister in the Grand Coalition government after the 2008 post-election violence. But it would be very interesting to see the number of votes he will get from the youths.
Let me quickly bring in back Allan. Allan, one of the key things here is the support that Odinga is getting from President Kenyatta. Some say it is unprecedented in Africa to see a sitting president, throwing his weight behind an opposition. Let us in on how this could translate into some big, gains for Mr. Odinga.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a double-edged sword. Granted that there is a segment of the population that would view Odinga as more of the incumbent president's puppet, a remote, they call it a remote control kind of, he would be a remote control kind of president. But Odinga's core supporters also counter that Odinga is a seasoned politician. It's only out of convergence of interest with Uhuru Kenyatta that the two kind of struck a rapport. So on the one hand, in as much as an outgoing president is usually a lame duck, the electorate at that point in time don't really defer to him in terms of the political direction, because the country and the supporters are done with him. They would want him to exit gracefully and give way to in terms of political succession. But at the same time, he similarly has core supporters within that Mount Kenya region who will cast their lot with whoever he backs. It's true that if Deputy William Ruto has gained significant ground in the Mount Kenya region, much to the chagrin of the incoming president, who doesn't understand how comes the ground has shifted away from him. So on one front, Odinga hasn't really won votes from the Mount Kenya region in the past 4 times that he's gone for the presidency. So his supporters believe that he's been cheated out of victory. This time they're saying that all they need is between 20 to 30% from Mount Kenya region. So if Uhuru Kenyatta's goodwill and then now with the nomination of Martha Karua can sway that number, his supporters believe that it's home and dusted. But on the other hand, there's a segment of the population that is kind of angry at the perception of economic management over the last 10 years. It will be 10 years at the end of by August. And so they feel that anyone who associates with the outgoing president is a continuity. So it's a debate between freshness and continuity. So this is what could be a poison chalice to Odinga. It's a delicate balance.
And, Ambrose, let's jump into tribal politics. A while ago, speaking with Austin Oganada, publisher of the Will newspapers here in Nigeria, we're talking about, politics, regional politics in Nigeria and how, important it is. In Kenya, it is something that is so important as well. How does tribal politics help Kenyans make their choices as they go to the polls this August?
Okay, on tribal politics, in Kenya, it plays a very big role. And as we have been talking about the Mount Kenya forts, that's basically talking about the Kikuyu forts or the Kema forts. That's the Kikuyu, Ayembo, and Meru. But for now, as you see, Raila Odinga is trying to pick Martha Karua as the running mate so as to get votes from Mount Kenya. That's basically votes from the Kikuyu. And also, he's assured of votes from the Luo Nyanza, that's his backyard, as well as William Ruto is also assured of votes in Rift Valley, that's the Kalenjin Fort block. And whoever manages to convince about 90% of his base to vote for him, that's his tribe to vote for him, that person will try as much as try to get at least 60% of the votes from another community and another 20% of votes from another community. For example, for William Ruto, he has big Rigathi Gachagua, who is a Kikuyu. There is Musalia Mudavadi, who is a Luhya. There is also this guy, Moses Wetangula, who is a Luhya. And currently, he has a big someone from Coast, that's Amason King of Bamoja Alliance. I think what he's trying to do is try to source for votes from other communities. That's basically try to get about 30% of votes from the Luhya, about 60 to 70% of the Kikuyu vote, and you will have a very good chance of winning this election. So for me, I would say tribal politics will play a key role in deciding who becomes the president of the Republic of Kenya.
And for you, Allan, I'll let you, give your perspective to that. But quickly, first, more importantly, tell us about Kenya's massive youth population, the very young people in Kenya. What's the mood like amongst this important demographic?
Sure. The Kenya is a youth population, like you put it. Looking at our census in 2019, the population that is below 35 years is 75% of the population. Then right now, the population that is between 18 to 34 years, the voting is 59% of the registered voters. So these are demographics that can't be ignored by any of the presidential candidates. So they need to begin to package their campaign messaging to appeal to this segment of the population. But then, this is a population that, in terms of the issues around this election, I think it's all about the economic mismanagement, rather economic issues, bread and butter issues. The youth are keen on someone who speaks about reform, about fixing the economic mess that we've been over the last 9 years, ballooning wage bill, an unsustainable debt burden, to kind of create an enabling environment so that the private sector and other players can kind of create the necessary jobs, because unemployment is a serious crisis in this country. So this population of the youth are keen on economic issues, I would say, but then I would say that just like women and the youth, it's not a homogeneous constituency. At the end of the day, the regional considerations also come into play. You're a young man around 20 years, but then you identify with your homeboy, someone from your own region, someone from your own tribe or so. And then other factors will come into play, what I would say, in terms of the delicate ethnic balancing. This country, up to close to 60 years now, the presidency has evolved around two major, let me call them nations, or rather two major ethnic groups in this country. So there's also this conversation that perhaps it's time for the presidency to rotate, or rather kind of, to go beyond where it has been, Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Kikuyu, and then so right now, Ruto comes from the Kalenjin base, you know. So in as much as there are the economic issues that the youth will vote for, but then we also need to distinguish there's the objective, well-educated youth who can sift through issues, and then there's also the youth who kind of don't have the benefit of to logically and critically assess things like we are doing on this panel, would be swayed by the ethnic considerations. But overall, the youth bulge needs a solution in terms of actionable programs and policies to fix the economy, to create jobs, to do away with the punitive kind of taxation regime that stifles innovation, that neuters the attempts of the small and micro enterprises to kind of create jobs and all that. So the youth is a demographic that can't be ignored by anyone in these elections. So just to add on to what I was saying, so that's why, in as much as it's not enough to talk of reformist credentials, it's not enough to talk of tackling corruption, you know. There is a segment of the population that says that, okay, corruption, but you say so and so is corrupt, it's not been proven guilty in a court of law. Corruption is not an isolated case, so it's a national problem. We are keen on someone, you call him corrupt, but if he can provide actionable programs and policies in terms of solving the economic problems, we'll go with him. So it's an interesting conversation.
And quickly here, let's close on this. Let me start with you, Ambrose. You know, the power sharing, you know, proposed by President Kenyatta was rebuffed by the judiciary. Now, how important could this have been to helping law and order, especially after the elections? Ambrose.
Okay, I think you are talking about the Building Bridges initiative.
Yes.
Okay, so the Building Bridges initiative was a good idea for those vying for elective positions, but was it solving our problems? And I remember during the launch of the BBI, the Deputy President asked a very important question on, does it solve the ethnicity or the ethnic imbalance in government? Because, so for now, they will be sharing position among themselves, but does it really solve the ethnic problem that we have been having in Kenya ever since? And I think saying the president should be rotational, the president made a very big mistake in setting a very bad premise. So now let's assume Raila Odinga wins the election. And he will serve for the next, let's say, 10 years. So automatically, he will have to support Martha Karua, who is a Kikuyu. So does that mean Martha Karua should not be a president because he's a Kikuyu, and Kikuyus have already led? I think saying president should be rotational does not have to deny someone his democratic right to fight for any position. And BBI would have created more opposition, but would it solve the budget deficit that we have in Kenya? Like for now, there is ballooning debt, and the citizens of Kenya are being taxed in almost anything. Even the milk, we are being taxed. So I think that was also a problem. And I think people are not ready for it, because most of the people right now would like to see economic development or economic solving, because we have a problem in our economy. That's it.
Well, I think it's a fine place for us to rest it for today, and we hope to come back looking at the election, topics in Kenya and in Nigeria. I'd like to say thanks to Austin Ogana, who is the publisher the Wheel newspapers, for his time, and of course many thanks to you, Allan, Odero, and Ambrose Koech. And for those watching, you can actually catch up on the program on our YouTube channel. And Sulaiman, see you again.